Welcome back to the Black Human Infrastructure channel. Why is the Dalai Lama not canceled when others are canceled for far less? There's a video going around of the Dalai Lama at a ceremony in February where he was taking questions from the audience and a little boy asked for a hug. In the video, the Dalai Lama spoke to the boy for a moment, hugged him, and kissed him on the lips. He then told the little boy to suck his tongue, which he stuck out for a few seconds, prompting laughter from the audience. The Dalai Lama professed that it was his way of joking with the little boy, but there's nothing funny about that. Per Tibetan Canadians and supporters of the Dalai Lama in Canada say the video have been taken out of context by a largely Western audience that lack any understanding of Tibetan culture and customs. The recent allegations against His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, are deeply concerning to us, the Tibetan Women's Association of Ontario told CBT News in an emailed statement. We believe that the incident has been misconstrued due to a lack of cultural and contextual references. While we recognize that the interaction may appear inappropriate to those who are unfamiliar with Tibetan ways of expressing affection, humor, and teasing, we firmly believe that the interaction was motivated by compassion and love with no intention to cause harm. Is this bitch for real? One does not have to understand another's ways expressing affection, humor, or teasing to know that it is never appropriate for an adult to stick their tongue out and ask a child to suck it. What world are we living in when we're forced to accept wrong and inappropriate behaviors from people the rest of us are made to deify and put on a pedestal? Displaying pedophile-like behavior is never okay, especially from pious individuals we are duped into revering and treated as a godlike figure. The Dalai Lama is an important spiritual leader, so he should be mindful of his behavior with any child. Asking a child to suck his tongue is not appropriate because it could send the wrong message that physical contact is acceptable in certain contexts that may not be age appropriate. It could also be perceived as an invasion of personal space, which can be intimidating and uncomfortable for children. My question is, where are the celebrities and their outrage? Where's Joe Biden? Where are the Republican outraged? Oh, yeah, the Republicans, they hate children. They just want their numbers to go up. Where are all the people with platforms and influence? Why are they not outraged and grossed out by this? Let me guess. Is it because they are attempting to protect the reputation of the individual in question? Are they hoping that with a fast-paced news cycle that we, the public, will forget this? Are there none that value the innocence of children because it's not their children? Does the Dalai Lama feel comfortable engaging in such behavior because he does not feel that his actions are inappropriate? Is it because he has been engaged in inappropriate behaviors for some time now? And what? Nobody checked him. Nobody checked me, boo. In 2019, he took on the far-right nationalist slogan and said, Europe should be kept for Europeans. When asked about the rising levels of African refugees entering the continent, from a moral point of view, too, I think that the refugees should be only admitted temporarily, said the spiritual healer, who has lived in exile for almost 6 decades in the North Indian town of Dharmasala, where his followers run a government in exile and campaign for Tibetans' autonomy, running his own government in somebody else's country. An estimated 120,000 Tibetans live in India. But he wants to keep European for Europeans. Per Param Gobadi, the Dalai Lama, unlike many of his fellow Nobel laureates, was not very vocal in condemning the Myanmar military atrocities committed against the Rohingya Muslims. Some 700,000 Rohingya Muslims fled from the mostly Buddhist Myanmar. The Nobel laureate Desmond Tutu, who co-authored a book with the Dalai Lama on joy and happiness, strongly condemned the Myanmar's military crackdown, calling it ethnic cleansing. 3 female Peace Prize laureate, Iris Mereed Maguire, Tawakkul Carmen from Yemen, and Iranian Shireen Abadi, they visited the Rohingya refugee camps. Malala Yousafzai, I know I butchered her last name, the youngest Peace Prize winner, Nobel Peace Prize winner, repeatedly condemned the shameful treatment of the Rohingya Muslims. However, the Dalai Lama, he took a soft line with the Buddhists in Myanmar. The Dalai Lama response was, those people are harassing some Muslim, then they should remember Buddha. He said, I think such circumstances, Buddha helping, definitely help to those poor Muslims. So still I feel that so very sad, he said. Yeah, but those were not simply harassing Muslims. They burned their villages, raped their women, and committed mass killing in an operation in which the UN has described as ethnic cleansing. I digress. There's just something off about this man. And by the way, there's something off about all of them that, portray this pious, state of being, and the rest of us have to bow down to them. There's something creepy about that. I don't like these godlike figures because they always end up being the worst of humanity if you dig deep and see who their true characters are. It just is. I digress. All individuals, including children, have a right to privacy and autonomy, and it is important to respect their boundaries, no matter the relationship. It is always best to err on the side of caution and to avoid any physical contact, especially with strangers. And yes, the Dalai Lama is a stranger. Per CNN, the head of the Tibetan government in exile has defended the Dalai Lama over the video in which the spiritual leader kisses a child on the lips and then asks him to suck my tongue. The Dalai Lama's actions were innocent and had been misinterpreted, Penya Zuring told reporters at an event in the capital city of India, New Delhi, adding that the can't even say that word. The controversy over the video had hurt the leader's followers. Or the controversy over the video had hurt the leader's followers. His Holiness has always lived in sanctity, following the life of a Buddhist monk, including celibacy. His years of spiritual practice have gone beyond sensorial pleasures. Zering said, His Holiness is now being labeled all kinds of names. Two problems identified with that statement: the cover-up and the lack of sex. I mean, it is what it is. There's no misinterpretation, and that is the problem. Absorbing him and covering up for him is wrong. Per the Tibetan Association of Alberta, sticking one's tongue out is a form of greeting and respect in our tradition, as touching the forehead and nose are also gestures of love and greetings. But the greeting doesn't normally involve tongue sucking. And that's per the Tibetan Association of Alberta. Okay? It doesn't normally involve tongue sucking. I'm telling you, where there's smoke, there's fire. Allegedly. Per Joshua Breeler Shelton, recently Tibetan men who are survivors of sexual misconduct, it's usually in the monastic setting, and Tibetan Buddhist women have also now bravely starting to tell their own survivor stories. So again, where there's smoke, I'm just saying. That said, as generations of gender scholars have pointed out, the long history of senior men abusing their power necessarily raises suspicions about patterns of behavior. A single event can signal a more expansive environment of abuse behind closed doors, and I acknowledge this wholeheartedly. Vigilant attention is necessary to protect children from abuse. How long have they been covering and protecting his behaviors? We must do more to recognize, understand, and demand accountability for any inappropriate behaviors. It is important that we take a stand, continue to raise awarenesses, and ensure that the rights of those who may be unable to defend themselves are protected. We need to call attention to injustices even when it may be uncomfortable or seemingly impossible. We must remember that every individual, especially children and those who are unable to speak and defend themselves for whatever reason, every individual deserves respect. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help us to grow in our community. And check us out also over on TikTok. We're doing God's work over there also. Bye.